everybody. It's Praise Mode here with the SJBBA.
For sure.
Alright, so today we're here to talk about the South Jersey Beyblade Association Bay Class update. We plan on doing just weekly talk shows and updates on what we are thinking about Beyblade in general, how we're feeling about the meta, and other things going on. Anything?
I want to touch on new releases and just predictions for like the upcoming month is Beyblade month, being March 21st, and what we'll see in the summer, like July, like releases, and we'll go on and talk about predictions.
Awesome. Yeah. So yes, with March being Beyblade month, March 21st, the South Jersey Beyblade Association is hosting a tournament. We plan on giving away a bunch of different things. So, if you want to come out to that, we're going to put the links to the registration right here.
Alright, so let's get started.
All right.
So just for new viewers or like new members to SJBBA, I just wanted to go over what Bay Class is.
Okay. Yes. So the Bay Class system is something that I kind of took from the New Zealand Beyblade Association. So what the Bay Class system is we have different tiers, as you would call them, A Class, B Class, C Class, and S Class. These are blades, and each blade is put into a different class. Some of it is based on the meta and what we see in our local scene, what bays are being played. The stronger the bay is, the higher the class is. It's not necessarily only based on how strong a bay is. Sometimes it is based on how much a bay gets used. So, for example, in our last tournament on February 21st, we did a lot of Golem Rock. So, Golem Rock was one of our B-class bays, and Golem Rock is now moving up to an A-class because it was used so much. And again, we're going to have the diagram and everything so you can see what bays are in what class.
Speaking of Golem Rock moving, I just wanted to touch on some more notable movements.
Sure, yeah.
So, we saw Meteor Dragoon.
Yeah, so Meteor Dragoon was a blade that it released officially released in December. People got their hands on it starting in January. Immediately upon release, Meteor Dragoon, people were telling me that it should have been an A-class blade to start. But I didn't feel that it needed to move up to A-class just yet. At the time, we only had three classes, A-class, B class, and C class. Cobalt Dragoon was already in the A-class slot for our less thin blade, but Meteor Dragoon, people weren't too familiar with it yet. It was strong, but it didn't see a lot of high placements in our tournament. So I didn't feel moving it to A-class at the time was the right thing. But after seeing so much usage in this last tournament in February, we got together and we just felt that it was the right time to move it up to A-class.
That's the thing about Bay Class. I feel like with like so many new releases, it's really hard to gauge like where everything goes immediately. So definitely, if we see more of new releases coming out, we can get the data.
Exactly. So after every tournament, we do collect all of the data. We ask for people to register their decks. So in this format, we do not allow people to change their decks up because we need to be able to collect certain data to be able to know what's being used and how it's placing. So yeah, with new releases, we kind of just immediately put them into the B class just because it's one of our most frequently used classes. The format BBC being there allows people to use a lot of new bays. So for example, you touched on Meteor Dragoon, but another notable one that saw a lot of play in our last tournament was Mummy Curse. Mummy Curse has made its mark even more this month than it did last month as the premier defense type / stamina type. People are finally figuring out builds for it, how to use it, and how to just play with it. So we also felt, along with Golden Rock, Mummy Curse needed to get moved up to A class as well. And then we also had some discussion too. So we created an S class, so those premier top blades can stand out a little more. Like, obviously Wizard Rod, Shark Scale, but we also put the only CX blade Blast up there, as well as hover wire.
I'm definitely appreciative of S-Class because, like, I know Goldenrock moved up to A, so to have like Reveal and Monkey in the same class, it's a little like subjectively like weird to think about. But so there's definitely like I don't want to say like skill between the two of them, but like more objectively scale is better than Rock. So
Right.
glad we
So
have.
yeah. So when it comes to the bay class system and what bays are being used and not being used, a lot of people do think about it like you do in terms of what scales better and what doesn't. Right. So having those blades in S class, right, Wizard Rod and Shark Scale stand above a majority of the blades in terms of power. So using them, puts you above so much, right? And I wanted to take a time to make it clear that the goal isn't necessarily to stop players from using these blades, but to allow more customization to see a lot more combos, right? So just a little data from our first tournament, we had 19 bladers, we have 54 unique combos. So people weren't using the same exact, rod 160 hexa, shark scale, 170 low rush, right? People are experimenting. People are getting out their comfort zone. People are using blades and combinations that they would never really think to use, especially in standard tournaments where you want to go out there and use success. So this allows people to play with other things that they may not play with, right? Can you build a deck around Wizard Rod if you only have two blades that are C class, something like uh, Rudder, Phoenix Rudder, and Night Shield as an example? Can you make those three work in a deck together and win a tournament? And those are some fun things to see when it comes to the big box system.
Definitely like a lot more creativity because now you're not necessarily just going on online and looking at a different VTuber talk about like the top 10 combos from like WBO, but now we really have to look at how can these like tier class or tier bays like succeed in our format.
Right, exactly.
I just want to touch on one more blade.
Okay.
So an underdog that we saw move up was Shelter Drake.
Ah, yes. So Shelter Drake, we initially moved up, and that's something that we're going to have to kind of look at it a little more. So Shelter Drake was frequently featured in a lot of players' decks, and it performed pretty well. Definitely not as what people may usually think of when they use Shelter Drake, but moving it up to B class felt great. But it's something that we kind of want to look back on because sometimes we make some drastic changes. For example, in the first tournament, Shark Edge saw a lot of use. Shark Edge was probably the most used blade in our January tournament. This tournament, Shark Edge, and then we moved it up to B class, and then Shark Edge usage dropped almost immediately. And part of that reason is because once you moved it up to D class, then you have things like Golem Rock and your Dragoon, Mummy Curse already there. Why would you use Shark Edge when you have those options available to you? So I'm thinking about that even in terms of Shelter right now. Now that we also have this new S class, it allows some of those stronger blades in B class to move up to A. So it's looking a lot more balanced now. So putting Shark Scale in D seems sensible, but we're going to have to see what's going to happen in the next tournament. See if we still see a lot of Shelter Drake usage, and hopefully we see the rise of Shark Edge again. And also, first place winner used a soft Drawn Sword, and we moved Drawn Sword up to D because Drawn Sword is still a pretty good blade even today, just outclassed by some of the stronger attack types. But putting it in B makes some sense. So maybe we see some more Cobalt, or not Cobalt Dragon, Drawn Sword usage.
Okay. That's everything we can open up the floor to the other guys out there.
All right. We'll be bringing in some more people.